All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to American Orthodoxy. I'm your host, as always, Benjamin Michael. I've got a great show for you today. We have a lot of news that hit the paper this morning to cover, and as well as a couple white pills before we get into the black pills, because unfortunately today there's been a couple black pills in the news, so we are going to get into that. But first, I want to show you guys a couple Orthodox white pills. Well, really just one. It's really just one Orthodox white pill, unfortunately. So a lot of you guys maybe saw this last week. There was a video that dropped over on the Dr. Daff show. I assume that's how you say it. The Dr. Daff show. Covering it was a debate between some Protestants, some Roman Catholics, and some Orthodox. Now, this channel, they just host women right now. They are going to be starting to host men soon. I'm in contact with them. They do want to start hosting men. However, we did see some Orthodox representation. You guys can go watch the actual video. But the huge white pill was in the comment section. So obviously you can see I'm in the comments saying that the Orthodox did a great job. I helped train up the two dear sisters that were cooking. They were cooking on the show. And so I helped train them up along with some other people. But you can see the comments of this video. So right now it's at 63K views. It's hitting the algorithm. It just started, so it's probably going to run for a while. But the comments are flooded with people talking about Orthodoxy. So nice to see Orthodoxy being represented. Orthodox girls were impressive with their knowledge of church history. Former Protestant, now Orthodox Christian. About 15 of my family members have come home to the Orthodox Church. Glory to God. So many comments in here about the Orthodox representation. So that's the white pill, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. While the country's going to shit, people are turning back to the true faith. They're coming to Orthodoxy. They're coming home to the Orthodox Church. So glory to God for that. As always, please like and subscribe. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please do so. And also like the video. Let's get it out to the algorithm. My last couple of videos did pretty decent on viewership. I might be pushing through the shadow ban, guys. Hey, we're gonna push through this shadow ban. All right, we're gonna do it. We're almost back to our original viewership. My first show, I was cooking. I had like almost 200 viewers live, and then my last two, we hit like I think we hit like 120. So hey, we're climbing back. We're climbing back after like being in like 70 range for a while. So like we're climbing back. We're climbing back. And that's all because of you guys. So thank you for that. Also, if you aren't following me on Instagram, so you can follow me on Twitter too, but I'm at RealBenMichael on Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram has been cooking lately. I've been pushing through a shadow ban over there as well, so you can go check that out if you're interested in more short form content, because I know some people look at like the 2-hour live stream and it's a little bit daunting. And so you can go check out my Instagram if you don't have that attention span. Hang on a second. All right, so
their Muslim rulers didn't do that during the Ottoman period.
No, okay, so pause. Okay. So I want to show this video from Tucker because a lot of people saw this on Twitter. So you guys know I love Tucker. All right, Tucker is great. I love Tucker. But Tucker had this guest on that's a quote-unquote historian, and he was talking about, he said a lot of really good things, about the Israel issue. But when he talked about Muslims, he had no idea what he was talking about. And so I wanted to show this video here, which kind of cooks this dude. Let's see here.
Period.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Their Muslim rulers didn't do that during the Ottoman period.
Okay, so the answer is no. Muslim rulers didn't tax churches during the Ottoman period. They were very kind to Christians.
Wrong, and wrong again. The Ottomans were anything but kind to Christians, both the churches and the people. Let me explain. So bear in mind the Islamic Ottoman Empire committed genocide against 3 of the oldest Christian populations in the world, the Armenians, the Assyrians, and the Greeks, killing millions of people and destroying countless number of churches. But let's go back hundreds of years and see what the Ottomans did to the greatest cathedral in Christendom. You guessed it, they turned it into a mosque. In 1453, when the Ottomans sacked Constantinople, they set their sights on Hagia Sophia, which for centuries had been one of the greatest structures in Christendom, built by the Roman Emperor himself, Justinian. Not only were there horrors inflicted on the large number of civilians who sheltered in the church, killings, enslavement, and the defiling of women, but the Turks removed the main crucifix of the cathedral and paraded it through their camp in a mocking procession. And this once awe-inspiring church was turned into a mosque. And this was hardly the only time the Ottomans did this. They did it to the church of Akerapoetos in Thessaloniki, the Matthias Church in Hungary, and to the two great Gothic cathedrals in Cyprus, one in Famagusta and one in Nicosia.
As a matter of fact, they took care of our holy sites. They had rebuilt, Islamic authorities rebuilt the Church of the Sepulchre 3 different times over the centuries.
This man puts Pinocchio to shame. Of all the times the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has needed major renovations or has been destroyed, the rebuilding has been paid for by Christians, no exceptions. And what he doesn't mention is that the church was destroyed in the Middle Ages by an Islamic ruler, the notorious Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim. Later ruler gave permission for the rebuilding of the church, but it was paid for by the Eastern Roman Emperor Constantine IX. No Islamic ruler paid a penny.
Their Muslim rulers didn't do that during the Ottoman period.
Okay, so the answer is
As you
no.
can see-
Muslim rulers.
As you can see, listen, guys, I love Tucker. I know some people are calling him, what did someone call him? Something about Qatar, saying he's paid for by Qatar. Thank you for the Indian tax. As always, guys, I'll go over all super chats at the end. Someone was saying he's paid by Qatar. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But what I do know is that this was an L take on the Muslim issue. Listen, guys, Tucker's a little weak on the Muslim issue, but here's the reason why I put up with it. So sometimes people will be weak on the Muslim issue, but strong, or usually it means they're weak on the immigration issue too, whereas Tucker is not. Like, Tucker is still very strong on the immigration issue. He recognizes that replacement is happening. He recognizes that demographics matter, that America was founded as a European colony, has a right to remain that as the dominant culture. He recognizes all these things. And so usually when people are like sympathetic to Muslims, they make that error, and he doesn't. So that's definitely why I put up with it. Whereas like other guys like Jake Shields and even like, unfortunately, Dan Bilzerian, sometimes also, Akathis, weren't you already a member, bro? Welcome back to being a member. Maybe bro left. I don't know. Guys, I always do a members only live stream at the end of my stream. So if you want to tune in for that, I go over some exclusive Saints quotes every time. So if you want to stick around for my members only live stream at the end of the stream, you can do so. So there was another unfortunate black pill today. Some news came out last night about Israel just absolutely. Oh, it was a gifted membership. Oh, there you go. About some news from surrounding Lebanon. Southern Lebanon was getting absolutely annihilated. Southern Lebanon was getting absolutely annihilated by Israel last night. So I want to show you guys this video from my dear brother Clyde. Now, Clyde gets a bad rap. People accuse him of being a Muslim shill too. He's not. All right, I know Clyde. I promise he's not a Muslim shill. All right. Sometimes he works with Muslims when addressing the Israel issue, but he does not shill for Islam. Okay? He does not shill for Islam. I promise.
Being turned into Gaza. Edessa, Lebanon is being turned into Gaza. Edessa is positioned in southern Lebanon, and Israel is using the same exact tactics that they used against Gaza to flatten this area, the civilian populations. They're using the same exact scapegoat as well, by blaming Hezbollah and using that as an excuse to completely destroy and flatten civilian populations, churches, homes, residential buildings, hospitals. It doesn't matter. They're trying to flatten the entire area. For reference, this is a before and after of Gaza. This is a before and after of Edessa. Literally just using the same exact playbook to flatten the entire civilian region so that they can take it. It's not about Hezbollah, it's about a land grab because they're expansionists and they want greater Israel. And Lebanon is a part of their land. Edessa, Lebanon.
Yeah, so very sad news. This was from last night. In fact, I had some footage. I forgot to save it here, but I can pull it up real quick. It's not going to take me long here. So you can see here, this is pretty insane. You can see this is footage from last night. Just absolutely annihilating a majority civilian population here. Pretty crazy stuff. I mean, bro, this looks like a scene out of like a World War II movie, bro. Like that's what this shit looks like. Pretty crazy. So Lord have mercy. Pray for Lebanon, guys. As we've seen, Israel even will target, there was the example of there was a 99% Christian, village in Lebanon that they targeted, which was just kind of shows like, this is why, and this is what I pointed out last week, guys, like when I did my stream reacting to Ridvan. It's like, okay, so you say that Israel is good to Christians, which is questionable, by the way, because remember during Pascha season, they shut down the Holy Sepulchre while allowing synagogues to remain open, right? So, that's questionable on its face, but that's their whole argument for why Christians that's one of their arguments for why Christians should support Israel. It's like, well, but then they're doing this to Christians, right? They're absolutely annihilating villages with civilian populations, with Christian populations. So, I mean, that destruction of that statue of Christ took place. And then they were also messing with, they were also destroying like solar panels in that same village. That was a Christian, a 99% Christian village. So, some blackpilling news today. You guys, we've been waiting for this decision for a while, this Supreme Court decision on birthright citizenship. We're going to dive into birthright citizenship here in a moment, guys. We are going to dive into it. I'm going to explain it from all of the history on it. Also, yeah, please like the live and subscribe if you're not subscribed, guys. Let's push it out to the algorithm. Please smash that like button. But here, so some of you guys saw in the news today. So first of all, I'm not sure this guy got his news wrong because it was a 6-3 ruling. It was a 6-3 ruling today. We're even more cooked. By the way, we have the majority. Supposedly, conservatives have the majority in the Supreme Court. Supposedly. But this was the case. It was involving basically Trump. Trump had issued an executive order. I think it was his second day in office. He issued this executive order with a common sense policy on birthright citizenship. Effectively, what he implemented was, hey, if you are a mother that is illegally here, right? If you have illegal status, right, and the father also does not have legal status or is not here, then your child does not get citizenship. Also, if you are here on some sort of temporary program, whether it be a visa or some other temporary program, right? If you are here on any temporary status, non-permanent status, your child does not become a citizen. Your child does not become a citizen if you have the child on U.S. soil. So this was the executive order. This is the executive order from Trump that the Supreme Court deemed unconstitutional. And we're going to dive into how absolutely brain dead their logic was. They, of course, are citing the 14th Amendment, which we're going to get into the history of, because it's so weaponized erroneously. So the 14th Amendment is where we get this clause. Here, I'll put it back on the screen. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. I feel like, so before I dive into this, before I dive into the history and stuff of this, so there was a discussion happening. Actually, I'm going to pull this up on the Instagram app here. So you guys, you can join my group chat on my totally free group chat. We go through a book every month. This is our first month. Tomorrow we're starting Decline of the West. We're starting this book tomorrow, and we're doing a study on it, basically. But it's totally free. The chat is totally free. You can get the book at undergroundcanon.com/Ben. But I want to show you guys this. There was a back and forth. There's a back and forth in my group chat on the topic of birthright citizenship, particularly on whether or not Christians should support. Actually, I don't want to give you guys, I'll tell you what. All right. So you should go join the chat because we talk about this a lot. We talk about these issues a lot. So you guys should go join this. It's in my bio. It's in, you can go to the link in my bio here. I can just drop the link right here too. Link in my Instagram bio though. Here, I'll just show you guys. So if you go right here, so first of all, I have 2 links that you can go to other than just like my YouTube and stuff. I have the bookstore, which you can use code Ben for a discount. That's where you could get this book. You can also get this book, Sword of Christ. That's excellent. You can get some G.K. Chesterton. There's all kinds of stuff on here that you can get. Use code Ben for a discount. And then right here is the link to the group chat. Right here is the link to the group chat. And I can put it in the chat for you here. But I wanted to show you guys how to actually navigate to it. Sorry, it's such a massive link. So we've been talking about it in that group chat, birthright citizenship, and whether or not a Christian can support it. I'll maybe show my message at the end because I do want to show you guys kind of what my response was as somebody who was saying that it's not Christian to not support birthright citizenship. That as Christians, we should support it because it's children, right? How dare you not want children to be able to have citizenship, bro? What are you, an animal? Oh no, a crying baby. We can't have civilization. So what is the background of the 14th Amendment? So first of all, so birthright citizenship, it first comes from English common law. Okay, so like it was a practice that does come from across the pond. That was really where the Supreme Court and really our the founders of U.S. policy got the idea of birthright citizenship. Now, there's the famous case of Dred Scott versus Sanford in the 1857 timeframe, and this basically ruled that Black people are not U.S. citizens. So this was sort of a landmark case that led up to the case of birthright citizenship just 11 years later. Right. But you guys probably remember, like in high school, there was the Dred Scott case, and that was sort of the famous landmark that sort of built up to the 14th Amendment itself. Now, in the 14th Amendment, there's a key clause, right? There's a very key clause, and it is the all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That's really the question mark, right? That's the question mark. What does that mean? And why is it in there? Right? Why is this line subject to the jurisdiction thereof? That's basically where all of the debate is isolated on that particular question. So something key here is to understand what was the interpretation of those that actually wrote this into law. Right? Those that actually authored this bill. There's a senator by the name of Jacob Howard was the one who authored this bill. Excuse me. He introduced this particular clause. So he introduced this particular clause of birthright citizenship. Now, but here's something of note, right? Here's something of note. They don't teach about Dred Scott in high school anymore, someone says in the comments. That's crazy. That's crazy. So the question was of political allegiance. That's basically what this clause meant to those that authored it, right? It was, hey, are you actually subject to U.S. laws? Do you have some sort of allegiance to someone other than the United States, right? That was the big question mark. And this was the interpretation of those that actually authored this bill. Now, the famous quote is a famous quote from, I can actually just pull this up for you guys so you can read along with me. Because I'll pull it up on justia.com here. Because once again, the person that actually introduced this clause, right? So this is the clause once again, right? Subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Here, let me just Control F here. Why doesn't this have the actual quote? I'm trying to show you guys the actual quote from him. That's like an extrapolation on it. Because as I find this, I'll read it to you guys. So basically, the person who actually introduced this clause, he says, this amendment, which I offered, is simple declaratory of what I regard as the law of the land already, that every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law a citizen of the United States. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, and who belong to families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of persons. Right? So you guys can see the extrapolation here. The requirement that of a person be subject to the jurisdiction thereof excludes its application to children born of diplomatic representatives of a foreign state, children born of alien enemies in hostile occupation, or children born of members of Indian tribes subject to tribal laws. So basically, this is the justification, right? Is that, hey, if you are under the jurisdiction of somebody else, right? If you have loyalty to somebody else, this is why we're going to get into this with the Indian tribes, right? But the way that the authors of this bill, the way the authors of this clause rather, interpreted this was that, hey, this does not apply to foreigners, because they are not actually subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That's why that clause is in there. That's why that clause is in there in the first place. Is so that everyone understands what the purpose of this bill was, which, what did we say earlier? Right here, archives.gov, 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, Civil Rights 1868. Following the Civil War, Congress submitted to the states 3 amendments as part of its Reconstruction program to guarantee equal rights and legal rights to black citizens. Guys, how insane is our policy if we're taking a law that was implemented for the sole purpose of granting the slave population citizenship? That was the sole purpose of this amendment. And the authors of it made it abundantly clear. They made it blatantly clear by saying it doesn't apply to aliens. It only applies to the black citizens, because it doesn't even apply to the Indian population. It doesn't even apply to they call them Indians, the indigenous population. I've always found it kind of weird, by the way, that we because the whole reason why we call them Indians is because Columbus thought he was in India. That's like the whole thing. And bro, listen, it's been a minute. 1492 was a minute ago, all right? But we're still calling these people Indians. I try to call them indigenous, the indigenous population. It's the indigenous population. Because they're also not Native Americans. Native Americans are the Europeans. It's the Anglos who actually built America. That's Native Americans. So the indigenous are native to the land, but they are not native to America, the country. Europeans are native to America, the country. We're the ones who founded America, the country. We're not native to the land, but we are native to the country. The indigenous population is not. Now, so one of the things they used as a justification too under the this was a senator at the time, basically further extrapolating upon this, this clause, also said it excluded Indians not taxed, right? So their justification was, hey, because the Indians don't pay taxes, because the indigenous population doesn't pay taxes, hey, therefore, they are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and so it doesn't apply to them, right? It doesn't apply to them. That was one of their justifications. But I want to show you guys this case, because this to me is a knockout blow, right? This Supreme Court case from 1884. So this is after birthright citizenship has already gone into effect, right? So we can really get into the mind of U.S. policymakers, particularly the judicial branch, right? We can really get into their mind following birthright citizenship. There was a landmark case in 1884. The Supreme Court ruled that Native Americans, indigenous populations, are not automatically granted birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. The court determined that because Native Americans owed allegiance to their sovereign tribes, they were not completely subject to the jurisdiction of the United States at birth. So basically, this guy was suing. John Elk was a Native American. He had left his tribe. This is where it gets even crazier. This is why this case is a knockout blow to anyone on the other side of this, to anyone arguing in favor of the modern interpretation of birthright citizenship, which is insane, by the way. It's literally just, if you're born on U.S. soil, it doesn't matter how you got here, you're automatically a citizen. That's the current interpretation of it, guys. Do you know how insane that is? Do you know how absolutely insane that is? So, this guy had severed his tribal relations, right? He wasn't even associated anymore with his tribe. And so then he attempted to vote. He was trying to vote in an election, and he got denied. So he sues for $6,000, whatever. In a 7-2 decision, 7-2, the Supreme Court ruled against Elk. The court argued that because Native Americans were born into separate political communities, their initial allegiance was to their tribal nation rather than to the U.S. government. The court concluded that birthright citizenship under 14th Amendment did not apply to Native Americans. Therefore, the only way a tribal member could obtain U.S. citizenship was through a definitive act of naturalization, just like an immigrant, just like every other immigrant. You have to actually go through the whole process. You don't automatically get it. So this guy, born on U.S. soil, first of all, born on U.S. soil, second of all, severs his ties with his tribe, and still the Supreme Court does not grant him citizenship. Isn't that, guys, tell me that's not insane. Tell me that's not a knockout blow. So we have the Supreme Court today now. Upholding this nonsense that anyone born on U.S. soil is automatically a citizen. When the Supreme Court, after birthright citizenship had already been passed in 1884, almost 20 years after birthright citizenship had been passed, they aren't even granting an indigenous population citizenship, who had an indigenous man who had severed relations with his tribe. So then, fast forward to the 1900s, 1924 to be exact. 1924, we get the Indian Citizenship Act. I'll show you guys here. This is the act. Indian Citizenship Act. All non-citizen Indians born within the territorial limits of the United States and they are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States, provided that the granting of such citizenship shall not in any manner impair or otherwise affect the right of any Indian tribe or property. Why would this be necessary? Why in the world would this be necessary under the modern interpretation of birthright citizenship? If the 14th Amendment was passed with the intention of allowing anyone born on U.S. soil to obtain citizenship, why did it take until 1924 for the U.S. to pass that the native tribes were citizens? This is how insane, guys, this is how insane the arguments are on the other side of this. The arguments asserting the utterly nonsensical interpretation of the 14th Amendment that it was supposed to grant every single person born on U.S. soil citizenship. It is incompatible with history, bro. Incompatible with history. How do they even respond to this? I genuinely don't know. What even could be the response to this argument that I just laid out? So what are the results now, guys, of the modern interpretation of birthright citizenship? It's a disaster. It is a absolute disaster. This is one example of this, by the way. This is very common. Trump has talked about this. By the way, this is obviously an issue that Trump is 100% right about. Guys, in many ways, Trump is a pragmatist. In many ways, he's a pragmatist with a boomer mentality about Israel, right? That's basically, if people ask me my opinion on Trump, like, in many ways, Trump is a traitor in the sense that, look, he ran on three things that got him elected. What were they? Release of the Epstein files, no new wars, and mass deportations. These are the three things that Donald Trump ran on that got him elected. He promised us the Epstein files, he promised us mass deportations, and he promised us no new wars. He actually promised to end the war in Ukraine. So that hasn't happened. He started a new war twice with Iran. He has ostracized every single person who advocated for the release of the Epstein files. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, Nancy Mace. He just pulled his endorsement for her for governor of South Carolina. And mass deportations. Where are the mass deportations? Why have we not debanked illegals, guys? That is low-hanging fruit. We can debank them and they will leave. Instead, we're being agitative like we did in Minneapolis. People are getting killed. I support ICE, guys. I support ICE. But the way that we're going about it is it's intentionally agitative. It's getting footage and quotes that the left is going to use to throw all of us in jail in a couple years when they take the presidency in 28. Guys, I can recognize there's some good things that Trump has done, but like, come on. These are the three things he ran on. These are the three things he ran on. So this is one good thing that he's done, though, guys. This is one good thing that he's done, is he's called this out. Feds raid California maternity hotels for birth tourists. Federal agents in California raided 20 maternity hotels where Chinese women allegedly paid $40,000 to $80,000 to give birth in the U.S. for citizenship. So I'm doing this for the education of the next generation. One of the women told NBC News. None of the women were arrested. Oh my goodness. Give me a break, bro. Give me a freaking break. Are you kidding me? Investigation was aimed at ringleaders who pocketed hundreds of thousands of dollars tax-free to help Chinese nationals obtain visas and then pamper them until they delivered in an American hospital at a discount. Wait, so they're also, bro, are you kidding me? So, guys, they're coming here. This is crazy. So they're coming here illegally. They're paying 40 to 80K to come here to have a baby, right? So that they can, so that their baby gets citizenship. And they're giving birth in a hospital at a discount. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh my goodness. And this is the problem right here, right? It's not necessarily, this is true. Under the current law, this is not illegal. That's the worst part about it. This is not even illegal. Now, it's illegal to run a freaking, maternity hotel and charge people for it. But to come here and have a kid here is not technically illegal. Guys, and here's where the bigger black pill is. Here's the bigger black pill. They turn 21. As soon as the kid turns 21, they can sponsor a green card. So, for their parents, they can sponsor a green card for their parents. So, they come here, they pay this little fee to these freaking, maternity hotel, basically traffickers. They come here and they have a child on a discount in the hospitals, right? And then they wait for the child. So the child now has citizenship. They wait for the child to grow up, turn 21, and then now the child can now sponsor their parents to become U.S. citizens. Like, what are we doing here, bro? What are we actually doing here? Like, we are not a serious country. This interpretation of the 14th Amendment makes us the most unserious country in the developed world, bro. The most unserious country in the developed world. So this is the Center for Immigration Studies. They did a study on this. So here's like a summary of what's going on here. Under a day one executive order signed by President Trump, children born to illegal immigrants or legal temporary visitors. Remember, I pointed that out. It's not just illegals. It's also those here on legal temporary status, because Trump, as a pragmatist, like I was talking about earlier, understands that, hey, this is insane that we're letting people who will come here legally have a kid on temporary status and the kid is granted citizenship. Trump recognizes how insane this is. So he was saying, hey, this executive order, no, they're no longer going to receive birthright citizenship. Which, by the way, guys, thank you for the super chats. By the way, I'll go over all super chats at the end as always. Please like and subscribe. Please like the live, guys. Push it out to the algorithm. Guys, Andrew Jackson was a gangster. Andrew Jackson, hang on a second. Andrew Jackson has the famous quote, "The Supreme Court has made their decision. Now let them enforce it." Now let them enforce it. That's some real G shit right there, bro. Some real G shit. So Trump could do that. Trump could be like, yo, all right, bet. Y'all made your decision. Now enforce it. Good luck. Good luck enforcing it without the executive branch. So Trump could do that. He could pull an Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson's top 3 president, by the way. My top 3 favorite presidents, Andrew Jackson, in no particular order. Andrew Jackson, Teddy Roosevelt, and of course, John F. Kennedy, with an honorable mention of Richard Nixon, who's not in my top 3, but he is an honorable mention. So anyways, how many such children are born in the U.S. each year? We have not formally updated our estimates since publishing 2018-19 reports. Births given to illegal immigrants and temporary visitors, respectfully. So here's their previous data. Oh, looks like they do have data in 2023. Oh, they're assuming. I see. So in this, they're assuming that if it maintains the same trends, basically. Assuming that births to illegal immigrants as a proportion of births to all non-citizens was held roughly constant since our last report, we have estimated that there were 225,000 to 250,000 births to illegal immigrants just in 2023, amounting close to 7%. 7% of births in the U.S. Bro, that's 2023. That's 2023. Although not yet available, 2024 numbers are likely to be even higher. Higher than 7%. 7% of our total births. Just as of 2023, you guys know that shit's gone way up. Way up. 7% of our total births are illegals having children here, and those children receiving citizenship. By the way, we're going to get into their welfare data here in a moment. What about temporary visitors? Temporary visitors, sometimes called non-immigrants. That doesn't make any sense. They're obviously immigrants. Are foreign nationals whose visas have an expiration date. By the way, Tim Pool offered a very good sort of addition to my remigration plan. You guys know my remigration plan at this point, probably, about debanking. But what you can also do is you can attach an expiration date to their bank account that it matches their visa expiration date, right? So the legals that come here, you can actually attach to that bank account. When you debank them when they leave, you can just set up automatically, right? We focus here on long-term temporary visitors, such as guest workers, foreign students, exchange participants, members of diplomatic corps. We cannot include tourists due to data limitations. People on temporary visas are unlikely to have a high birth rate for several reasons. They're generally well-educated. They come disproportionately from countries such as China that have low birth rates to begin with. Only 43% are women. So this isn't quite as prevalent, it looks like. We estimate about 70,000 births to temporary visitors in 2023. Furthermore, if we assume based on past experience that births equal about 2% of total temporary visitor population each year, then there have been close to 500K births to temporary visitors over the past decade. So that's the study by the Center of Immigration Studies to show how prevalent this is. 7%, guys. 7%. I just bro, and wait till y'all see the welfare thing here, bro. Wait till y'all see the welfare thing. I want to, before I go through this here, I want to make sure. How you guys doing today, by the way? How you guys doing? I know today is very info heavy. This is kind of like a boring episode because it's so info heavy. But we unfortunately, guys, we're not even done with the black pills. I have another black pill after this because we got to talk about this Israel-U.S. merging securities. All right, so we're gonna look at the welfare data here. Oh, man, this is so blackpilling, bro. This is so blackpilling. I'm reading through this again, and I'm oh my gosh, bro. So this is Center for Immigration Studies again. By the way, they have very good. I recommend them for you guys can. You guys can check it out. Here, I'll actually put this right here in the chat for you. So the 2022 Survey of Income and Program Participation, otherwise known as SIP, it's going to be cited as such throughout the rest of the report, indicates that 54%, oh my gosh, 54% of households headed by immigrants, naturalized citizens, legal residents, and illegal immigrants use one or more welfare program. This compares to 39% for U.S.-born households. By the way, remember, this 39% number includes the African-American population, right? Which is extremely high. But still, guys, so this isn't, I know I've cited, I think the number is 53%. So that means it's even higher. It's higher for illegals because the number is 53% for immigrants, first generation legal immigrants, right? And so the fact that it's 54% for all of them, naturalized citizens, legal residents, and illegal immigrants, guys, I just, how insane is it that they even get, why are they even eligible, right? Like, why are they even eligible for it? Like, who lets people into your country and then starts paying them to be here? And it's way worse in Europe, guys. Like in Europe, bro, there's like videos of these immigrants. I'll have to see if I can find some, because there's like videos of these immigrants like talking about how like they're living in like hotels. They're like, that's being paid for. They get like a couple $1,000 a month for food on top of it. And they're like first generation migrants who don't work. The rate is 59% for non-citizen households. There you go. So for green card and illegals, it's 59%. Compared to households headed by U.S.-born immigrant-headed households have especially high use of food programs. Our best estimate is 59% of households headed by illegal immigrants, also called the undocumented, use at least one major program. So that's just major programs. That's not even talking about all programs in general, which is even an even higher number. We have no evidence this is due to fraud. Do you guys understand how significant that is? So this study is saying that this isn't even including the fraud. This is just the legitimate welfare programs that they're on. Illegal immigrants can receive welfare on behalf of U.S.-born children. This is the problem, right? And here's the other thing, guys, is a lot of times these migrants will end up bringing in, right? There's all kinds of studies that show that, let's say you even have like a upstanding citizen, if you even could say, call them that, an upstanding citizen who is an illegal, right? The problem is they also end up bringing a lot of family members with them who are not working. They're elderly. They're also on welfare programs. So it's like, there's no way, there is just, every time these guys bring up the argument, they do the jobs that nobody else wants to. First of all, I just saw a great video, a great breakdown of this by, you guys probably know this Ian guy on Instagram. Let me see if I can find this video, because this was a great breakdown of kind of refuting this nonsense. Because you guys hear this often. You guys hear this often, right? You guys hear this often about how like, well, they do the jobs that nobody else wants. They do the jobs that nobody else wants. Here we go. I found it. This is a great breakdown of this issue.
Toned and reasonable. He must be right?
You are wrong about your stance on immigration.
I mean, he starts his video off by saying that your opinion is wrong. So he must present a perfect, flawless, airtight argument for immigration.
Deporting illegal immigrants doesn't make sense when the group you're deporting are the ones actively building houses during a housing crisis.
Well, we shouldn't deport illegals because they pick our crops and they build houses. 30% of the rise in housing costs are due to immigration. 20% of the rise in rent prices are due to immigration. Do you believe that having more and more illegals and more legals, people who are coming in legally, in our country is actually good for a competitive housing market when we're not building more homes? Experts estimate that more than half of illegal immigrants are not working. Not just illegals who come in through family sponsor visas or as H-4 dependents. Illegals do bring their children. They bring elderly family members, and those people are not working. They're not building homes. They're not picking crops. And again, they're not contributing in taxable income. This is not to mention that many of these illegals are sending remittances to their home country, and that is billions of dollars that does not re-enter the American economy, and it's untaxed. There are at least 21 million illegals in the United States right now.
Crazy.
There are only 2.6 million farm labor jobs in America. There are only 3.3 million construction for housing specific jobs in America. Even if every single house building and farm labor job was occupied by an illegal, which they are not, it would still mean 16 million illegal immigrants who are not building homes or picking strawberries. We already bring in 180,000 H-2 visas for seasonal farm labor. We already have memorandums of understanding for seasonal labor that is not capped by the US visa program. We don't need more and more illegals to do this work.
Incentivize immigration for software engineers and project managers under the notion of skilled specialized labor.
You know, we don't need more STEM, OPT, student visas, or H-1B visas and the related visas. There are 185 visas.
Yeah, did you guys see this? So I made a video about this. 80 to 90% of the H-1B of the degrees that these Indians were getting were supposedly fraudulent. So yeah, like this whole like best and the brightest. Guys, we're bringing in the best and the bright, bro. If you're still talking about the best and the brightest in 2026, bro, we gotta have a discussion.
Visas. Many of them are not work visas or specialized labor visas. If we were to cut those visas, American universities would lose millions and millions of dollars, but American students and graduates wouldn't have the underemployment issue and the unemployment issue that they are seeing. But that's not an excuse to allow illegal immigration. 63% of those eligible for...
You guys have probably seen all of these graduates, these college graduates, they can't find freaking jobs, bro. There's all these studies now of these college graduates who are a year out of college with their 4-year degree or sometimes with their master's, and they can't get a job. They can't get a job. And by the way, a lot of people ask my take on college, so I'll give you my take on college. I'm pro-college if and only if you're able to do it in a efficient way. And what I mean by that is don't go like $50,000 in debt. In fact, you really should not be going more than $10,000 in debt. If you're going more than $10,000 in debt to go to college, you shouldn't do it. All right. If you're not able to get on a scholarship or if your parents aren't paying for it or something like that, maybe go to school, like a technical school and get like a technical degree, right? And maybe work on your bachelor's while you're doing that, right? Or maybe you could join the military, you could join like the National Guard, because you're probably not going to die for Israel, the National Guard. So you could join the National Guard and get college that way as well. So there are ways to do it. There are ways to do it that give you, again, allow you to do it efficiently. That's the context in which I do support college. I do support college. And then, of course, there's certain things you need it for, right? Like anything legal, anything medical. Like there's certain vocations where you need college.
Deportation right now are Hispanic. So if illegals follow the trends of Hispanic households, only 7% speak English at home. Only 11 to 15% of
7% speak English at home. 7%. Bro, the black pillars are going to get to me today, bro. Oh, my goodness. That black pill is it's staring at me. It's staring at me, guys. It's staring at me with those big old eyes. Those big brown eyes.
Generation illegals likely have any proficiency in the English language. Roughly 73% of first-generation immigrants are on one or more social programs. This man's argumentation is extremely flimsy. It's like he's never actually debated anyone on the matter of immigration. And when you're saying in a video that your opinion is wrong, and then you present a very, very weak argument, which is just a matter of opinion, then you can't say that anybody's opinion is wrong.
All right, so you guys get the point. Welcome, Snakefoots, to Legionaries, to memberships. Thanks for joining up. I saw your super chat. I'll go over those at the end. As always, I'll go over all super chats at the end, guys. Thank you for the super chats. And thank you for the memberships. The memberships are a great way for you to support me monthly. It's $5.99 a month. So if you care about what I'm saying, you can support me monthly. I appreciate it. So anyways, that's the condition of the country, ladies and gentlemen, on the issue of birthright citizenship. It is national suicide. National suicide. So that's what we were talking about in our group chat earlier. Is just how insane this shit is. Here, maybe I can pull it up here. Show you guys. What up, Ortho Broski? Here, I think I can just search this and it'll come up. Sorry, I'm a little bit disorganized today, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. So one of the guys in the group chat here, was saying that it's not Christian to oppose birthright citizenship. So I said, brother, what is this rhetoric? Oh no, a crying baby, we can't have a civilization. Bro, the amount of arguments that come from the other side that basically boil down to, oh no, a crying baby, we can't have a civilization. It's actually crazy how many of these people, unironically, bro, that's what their argument is. Offering birthright citizenship to children of the illegals only incentivizes illegal immigration, often orchestrated by the cartels, and therefore it boosts the trafficking of children. Not to mention that 83% of children, I think I misspoke there. I think it's 63%. We saw earlier total, it was 59%, but it said it was higher for illegals. So either way, insane number. It's insane that it's above zero. So, my boy Bible guy goes, Jesus would have let all the non-whites in. So true, King. Anyways, so they're literally robbing American citizens. Additionally, wealthy foreigners will pay a fee to fly here, have their child here, and then immediately fly back. With citizenship now granted to the child, as soon as the child turns 21, they can sponsor their parents for a green card. I forgot to reinforce that point. Guys, how insane that is. So all of this is happening, and then on top of it, we're also allowing them, as soon as they turn 21, to sponsor a green card for their parents, their illegal parents. National suicide. So if you want to go join that group chat, we talk about this kind of stuff, and we go through a book every month, which is a good segue for me to show you guys. Again, undergroundcanon.com. This time I got my own special link. Underground. By the way, guys, we're not done with the black pills. We got a whole nother thing with this Israel securities thing to cover. But undergroundcanon.com/Ben. You can go to this bookstore. The group chat is only on Instagram. It's only on Instagram. I'm kind of switching. Instagram is my primary platform now because Twitter is kind of shit in the bed. So some great books on here, guys. Guys, we are very close to getting St. John Chrysostom's Against the Jews on here. So I'm going to be promoting that very soon. But yeah, go to undergroundcanon.com/Ben. You can explore what they got here. The book that we're going to be going over this month is this one, Decline of the West by Oswald Spengler. And then you can use code Ben for a discount. So if you guys check out this bookstore, like I said, use code Ben for a discount if you're interested in anything they got going on here. They have a lot of stuff. They have far right stuff. They have far left stuff. They have stuff that really like nobody else is going to sell. That's kind of what's going on here. So they have stuff from like the communists. They have stuff from the fascist regimes on here. They have other stuff that just talks about, the rise of, like there's Protocols of Elders of Zion is on here. Secrets of the Federal Reserve, I've heard is interesting. Camp of the Saints, I've heard is interesting. Sold out right now. But yeah, so you guys could go play around. Like I said, undergroundcanon.com/Ben. Oh, wow. People are leaving my stream. Go to Andrew. That's crazy. I see how it is, bro. No, it's okay. All right. So now we got to get into the other black pill. Unfortunately, we're not done with black pills for the day. Guys, the white pill is that Christ wins. All right. That's the Christ pill. The Christ pill is that even though our country is committing national suicide, and even though we are literally like merging our military with Israel, guys, the Christ pill is that Christ wins in the end. So it's going to be all right. All right. So here's what's going on today. So first of all, actually, let me show you guys the updated news on this. So a lot of you guys saw this a couple weeks ago. There's an update today. And I'm going to go through what this actually does. Oh, bro, Seahawks fan? Yeah, bro. Get out of here. I don't want no Seahawks fan in here. I'm never going to get over the 2014 NFC Championship, bro. I'm never going to get over it. I'm still coping. I remember, where were you? Where were you when the Green Bay Packers blew the 2014 NFC Championship game? Where were you? I know where I was. So, this happened just today. Congress blocks Massey Kana effort to kill U.S.-Israel integration. So, basically Massey introduced an amendment to this bill that would eliminate this particular the U.S.-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative from the bill. So the whole thing, Massey was trying to get rid of it, and it did not go well. It did not go well. It got blocked by the House without debate. After no debate on Monday, the Rules Committee chose to reject a bipartisan amendment. Guys, this is how, Congress can agree on nothing. Except there was two members of Congress who sponsored this amendment. And without any debate, it got shot down. There wasn't even debate. I actually, the fact that there's still people out there that don't say, or that say that Israel does not have a disproportionate control over our government is actually crazy. So let's read through the actual, a lot of you guys saw this on the news, right? But let's actually read what's going on here. So Section 219 of Chairman's Mark of the House version of the NDAA, Section 1217 of the Senate version of the NDAA, establish a new U.S.-Israel technology cooperation initiative aimed at accelerating joint research, development, integration of Israeli origin and jointly developed defense technologies into U.S. military systems and programs of record. The bills direct the Secretary of Defense to formalize deeper cooperation and integration across emerging and existing domains, including counter-drone systems, missile and air defense, quantum computing, AI, and autonomous systems, of course, cyber and electronic warfare, directed energy, and defense industrial base cooperation, while facilitating pathways from R&D into procurement. This section requires regular reporting to Congress on progress and technology transitions and emphasizes rapid adoption of Israeli defense innovations to strengthen U.S. military capabilities. To strengthen U.S. military capabilities. Bro, why do we need Israel to strengthen our capabilities? Does that even make any sense? All of their technology is ours. It's all from us. So this is the actual clause here. The SecDef shall designate an executive agent responsible for synchronizing cooperation efforts between U.S. and Israel to expand and accelerate bilateral defense technology research, development, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation. The appointment of an EA would replace direct congressional oversight with supervision by the SecDef. So it's isolating authority over our relations with Israel. It's isolating them to one person, the SecDef, rather than Congress as a whole. So I wonder if this is because Congress is taking heat, or AIPAC and other Israel lobbies are taking heat. So, hey, they don't have to lobby as much, and so they're not going to take as much heat, and they can all laugh at us for saying that Israel controls our government by disproportionate lobbying. They can all laugh at us if they just get rid of the need for Congress at all. Hey, how about we just get rid of it? And all you need is the supervision of the SecDef. All they have to do is infiltrate the SecDef. That's it. Identifying jointly developed or Israeli origin technologies with operational utility for potential integration into U.S. systems and programs of record. So it seeks to integrate American and Israeli research and development programs by encouraging the direct use of Israeli manufactured technology into U.S. systems, including its military programs. This would render the U.S. dependent on Israel's provision of such technologies. So we're actually losing capability. We're actually losing autonomy over our own military technology, thus giving Israel a significant amount of leverage over future American policy and infrastructure. Bro, this is cooked. This is absolutely cooked. This would go beyond the typical bilateral relationship by significantly enhancing Israeli leverage through control of critical U.S. military supply chains, and may also inherently give preference to Israeli technologies over U.S. origin competitors. Guys, the black pill's staring at me again. It's staring at me again. What do I do? Ensuring collaborative research initiatives involving government, private sector, and academic institutions in the United States and Israel is done in a manner that protects sensitive information, the national security interests of the U.S. and Israel. Sounds like some Palantir bullshit, bro. That sounds like some Palantir rhetoric. That very much concerns me. This provision would further entangle the defense supply chains of Israel and the United States across government, private, and academic sectors, which blurs the lines of territorial integrity and political sovereignty. The provision assumes that the U.S. and Israeli national security policies and objectives are inseparable, despite very clear current evidence that they can be divergent. So, what it's saying here, the commentary is basically saying, look, it's very clear that U.S. and Israeli interests are not identical. Because that's what we often hear, guys. We often hear from the other side that, oh, guys, because Israel is our greatest ally, therefore all our interests are identical, right? So therefore it only makes sense pragmatically for the U.S. to support Israel, right? Well, we've seen lately, Trump is such a pragmatist, even though he's pro-Israel, he's such a pragmatist, even he can see the glaring truth that it makes no sense that right now, this war with Iran makes no sense for the U.S. It makes no sense. It is clearly a proxy war. Facilitating the transition of technologies from research and development into procurement and acquisition pathways. So this directs accelerated transition of military technologies out of early stage research, testing, and experimentation, and into the formal DoD pathways for fund. Oh my gosh, bro, for funding, buying, and fielding at scale. By targeting procurement and acquisition specifically, the provision is designed to move cooperative efforts beyond research dialogue and toward the actual adoption of technologies into U.S. systems and programs of record. Once such transitions occur, it will be very difficult for future admins to uproot such technologies or agreements from major defense procurement programs, and indeed would make the DoD program executive offices and program managers advocates for the continued inclusion of Israeli origin technologies in U.S. systems. Oh, bro. Accelerated transition of military technologies out of early stage research, testing, and experimentation and into formal DoD pathways. Notice funding. Funding is part of this. Establishing frameworks for joint ventures, licensing agreements, and U.S.-based co-production or manufacturing partnerships with Israeli industry. Thanks for the super chats, guys. Of course, we'll go over all the super chats at the end. By the way, Thursday, I'm going to be doing a call-in stream with Inspiring Philosophy on Islam. So I'm going to be over on Inspiring Philosophy's channel on Thursday. So you guys have to tune in over there. Always good to go on those bigger channels, help drive traffic over here. So yeah, I know this is like boring, guys, but like this is crazy. This is crazy. Let's see if there's anything else crazy interesting in here. Let me drop this article in the chat for you guys so you can look over it. Here's the one, the military. Promoting joint training exercises, information sharing mechanisms, bro. Information sharing mechanisms. Hello. This is direct. See, because it's in bold, this is directly from the bill. Promoting joint training exercises and information sharing mechanisms. That's Palantir. To enhance operational readiness to deploy jointly developed technologies. Basically sharing the information of U.S. citizens. That's what that basically is saying. Cooperative efforts. So here's the cooperative efforts. Synchronized cooperation efforts under subsection A may be carried out through the following domains. Counter unmanned systems through aerial, maritime, ground platforms. Anti-tunneling and subterranean threats. I'm not going to read through all these, but artificial intelligence, quantum, machine learning, and autonomous systems. Oh, bro. Network integration, data fusion, and contested logistics. All right, guys. I mean, look, like I'm trying not to black pill here. I'm really trying. I'm really trying not to black pill, but Speaker Johnson is talking on birthright citizenship right now. All the Republicans are crashing out over it, basically. I wanted to see if there's any leftists celebrating.
In favor of it as the Supreme Court just saved birthright citizenship. They doubled down on it. Right, upholding the 14th Amendment, which states that if you're born on U.S. soil, you're a U.S. citizen, even if your parents aren't. And while you had all three liberal justices voting in favor of it, as was expected, you then also had Chief Justice John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, and Brett Kavanaugh voting with them as well. With Roberts saying citizenship then and
all three of those are traitors, by the way. All three of those are absolute traitors. Oh my gosh, bro.
Now was the right to have rights. The framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every...
You can tell this guy is a homosexual, just the way he talks. Of course.
Freeborn person in this land. We keep that promise today. But also, you should not misunderstand what's happening. Trump is at the very least not finished fighting what he calls birth tourism. And the Republicans, they knew that the Supreme Court, it was going to be a long shot. Which is why they've already introduced bills aimed at only granting a child citizenship if at least one of their parents is a citizen or a permanent resident. And Trump, he's kind of right now focusing on his wins. Because today, the Supreme Court also ruling that states can ban male to female transgender athletes from playing on girls' sports teams at publicly funded schools. And then you also had them lifting the cap on what political parties can spend on candidates, which is actually a law that came about in the wake of the Watergate scandal. But for now, share to spread the word and follow to stay.
Yeah, so obviously leftists are celebrating this. They think it's, again, like if you just read the 14th Amendment, you blow past the subject to the jurisdiction thereof, like I can see how you would have this interpretation. But like I said, we already broke down all of the authors of the authors of the clause, everybody that was living at that time that made this happen, right? Everybody living at this time that made this happen, they all are telling us it doesn't apply to foreigners.
This is an ABC News special report.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released its ruling on the future of birthright citizenship here in the United States. That right has long been guaranteed under the 14th Amendment, but President Trump has been waging...
You see their framing? You guys hear their framing, bro? The right has long been guaranteed under the 14th Amendment. We already destroyed this argument with the fact that in 1924 they had to grant citizenship. In 1924, they had to grant citizenship to the indigenous population. We already annihilated this nonsense.
Battle to limit birthright citizenship to children of U.S. citizens or permanent residents.
No, like that is literally the most basic. That should be common sense. That should be common sense. Limiting citizenship to those who are children of citizens.
Let's get straight to ABC's senior Washington correspondent Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin, for more than 100 years, the rule has been simple. If you're born in America, you are an American, and it looks like that won't change.
That still stands, Kira, after this landmark decision. Chief Justice John Roberts writing for the majority of the court that the 14th Amendment means what it says. The text of that amendment passed after the Civil War to extend citizenship to former slaves and their descendants is still the law of the...
So even he's acknowledging, hey, guess what? Guess who this was supposed to be applying to? It was the slave population. That was what it was for. That was what the amendment was for.
Land. If you're born on U.S. soil, you are a U.S. citizen. A major rebuke to President Trump, who had pushed for this executive order to take effect. It has come before the court twice. He attended oral arguments in person to look those justices in the eyes. And today, Chief Justice John Roberts leaning...
What do you guys think Trump's reaction is going to be to this, by the way? Like, I'm very curious, if he's going to try to steamroll. I mean, like, that's what he needs to do. He needs to pull an Andrew Jackson. But I don't know what else you can do. I mean, this is clearly this was a compromise decision. I mean, like anyone with common sense can look at these arguments in history that I presented, right? And identify clearly the intention of the 14th Amendment had nothing to do with children of illegals. But that's basically what the Supreme Court decided today. They decided today that, yeah, that was what the 14th Amendment was really about. The 14th Amendment speaks for itself. Give me a break, dude.
Into that opinion from over 100 years ago, 1898, the last time the Supreme Court looked at this issue, and he said that precedent is still our precedent, and it is the law of the land, Kira. A big win for the immigrant advocates, we should note, who had fought this case, the ACLU, who led the way, Cecilia Wang, herself a birthright citizen, arguing this case before the Supreme Court. And today they have a big victory. 255,000 children are born in the United States each year to non-citizens who would have been affected by Trump's order. And those kids today and going forward will get U.S. citizenship, Kira.
Let's bring in our ABC News legal contributor, James Sample. James, does this signal that there is a line the court can't cross?
It absolutely does, Kira. This is a ruling that was an issue that was never a close question. Every single court that looked at this executive order said it was unconstitutional. Today's ruling is not just a victory for birthright citizenship. It's a victory for the principle that you cannot rewrite the 14th Amendment.
Oh my gosh, give me a break, dude. When literally the author of it stated it doesn't apply to foreigners. What are you talking about? Oh, you can't rewrite the 14th Amendment. Bro, we are literally just using the interpretation of the person who wrote it. The person who wrote it said, hey guys, this is what I mean by it. It doesn't apply to foreigners. It applies to the black population, the slave population. That's who it's for. This framing is so frustrating. They do this stuff with the immigration issue all the time. With the nation of immigrants bullshit, with the melting pot bullshit, with the bring me your poor, tired, huddled masses bullshit. It's all they leverage this propaganda. They leverage this propaganda for a particular agenda, right? Even though it's directly contrary to the very people that wrote this shit into law.
With the stroke of an executive pen.
Let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Mary, as Devin just mentioned, this is going to be a huge relief to millions of people, but not the president.
No, Kira, this is a huge blow to one of President Trump's signature immigration promises. In fact, on the very first day of his second term, the president signed this executive order unilaterally declaring that only newborns whose parents have permanent legal status are eligible to be citizens. Despite what the 14th Amendment says, the president often argues this is not how birthright citizenship was intended to be used. He often argues that it was meant for the children of enslaved people, not for those born of migrants who illegally crossed the border. The Supreme Court today firmly disagreeing, backing.
How can you disagree with that? Guys, I showed you earlier. Look at this. This is in the actual archives.gov, right? The actual archives.gov explicitly says that. Oh, they're disagreeing. This was for the slave population. Bro, they're disagreeing They're disagreeing. Like this, how can you disagree with the actual context of the bill? Following the Civil War, Congress submitted to the states 3 amendments as part of the Reconstruction program. This was, why do you think it was passed? Why do you think this was passed after the Civil War? Why do you do you think that was just a coincidence? My goodness. A major provision of the 14th Amendment was to grant citizenship to all persons born and naturalized U.S., therefore granting citizenship to formerly enslaved people. Literally the entire purpose of this Supreme Court decision.
The 14th Amendment and the right to birthright citizenship. No response yet from the White House. The president, though, certainly not likely to be happy, though it is likely he did see this coming. Of course, he did attend in person portions of the oral arguments on this case. That was a first for a sitting president, Kira.
Well, the Supreme Court also issued a critical ruling on the future of transgender athletes here in the United States and whether states can ban.
Oh my gosh, bro. That's how we know we're in Weimar. Guys, this is how we know we're in Weimar 2.0, bro. Is we're literally like the abortion and the transgender stuff, guys, like I don't even engage it. It's like so ridiculous. It's like so ridiculous. We're literally talking about sacrificing babies to Moloch. Like that's what we're debating with somebody else. If I have a debate with somebody on whether or not you should sacrifice a baby to Moloch, bro, like you're too far gone, bro. There's so many things before that. There's so many things before that that need to be debated before we can get to that. That's why I don't really engage in like the abortion debate or like the transgender debate. The transgender debate that's literally whether or not we should allow children to have like be mutilated. Like that is what we're debating. So anyways, I don't know, guys. All right, so those are the 2 major issues going on. We got Israel trying to merge securities with the U.S. and Supreme Court decision today. So we might be cooked. We're gonna try not to black pill, but I think I'm gonna call it a day after I go through these. I'm gonna go through these super chats. And then we're going to call it. Thanks for the Indian tax to our resident Indian. By the way, bro, are you on Instagram? If you're on Instagram, you got to join up on the chat. And if you're in the chat, let me know it's you. Because people were asking about you the other day. You're like a legend. You're like a legend in the chat. It is absolutely vile. 100%. Snakefoot says, joining your membership because you talk about important issues. Seems like other channels have just become Orthodox drama. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But welcome. Happy poop for 10 joules. All right. Thanks. Thoughts on Mets firing manager because they're so bad? I don't have thoughts on that, but I do have thoughts on... Guys, I was kind of... Listen, all right, I kind of got cooked. Over on Twitter, bro. I kind of got cooked. I had to leave it up. I had to leave this tweet up. I had no choice. Bro, because the U.S. they cooked me, bro. I tweeted this out before the game. I was like, yo, Turkey, winner gets Constantinople. You know, because we were supposed to, guys, we were like 3-1 odds. We were like 3-1 favorites in this game. I was like, bro, we got this shit on lock. And then, of course, we shat the bed with like almost no time in the game. Bro, I was like just watching the score and it was 2-2. I was like, all right, it's going to be a draw. You know, at least I didn't embarrass myself. Like it'll be a draw. It'll be all good. And then, bro, like I had a tweet out. I was like, damn, we're cooked. But we still won our group. Hey, we won our group. So, and Turkey is going home. So, I mean, technically, like, we did kind of win in that sense. I know we played our... Listen, guys, I'm talking about, like, the moral victory here. I know we played our bench players. All right? I know that. Okay? The point is that it's Turkey, bro. How did we lose to Turkey? I wanted to kick Turkey's ass. Like, that's what I wanted as a cold-blooded American. Okay? I know it didn't matter. I know, bro. I know. What are your guys' predictions for the rest of the World Cup? I don't really follow it too much. All right. Well, that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. Please like the live, push it out to the algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I'm going to cut to a members only stream as always. So if you want to sign up for memberships and get some exclusive Saints quotes, you can do so right now, because I do a members only live stream at the end of every stream. That being said, I'm going to set it to in 1 minute. All right, in 1 minute, we'll be going to members only. So if you guys want to tune into that, like I said, you can sign up for memberships. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. Please give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at RealBenMichael on both platforms, particularly active on Instagram. Welcome to Legionaries. Welcome to memberships, Steven. Nice. W's. And then, like I said, Thursday at 3 o'clock, Eastern, I'll be over on Inspiring Philosophy's channel. We're going to be debating Muslims, so come on over.